Hey guys, it's Bassima. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a certified life and productivity coach, and I'm super excited about today's video, all about how to start waking up earlier in 2021. If you're trying to be a morning person in 2021 and you haven't yet achieved it, then this video is going to be super helpful for you. I'm going to be keeping it really simple, so it's not going to be about a million steps that you have to remember and try to stick to. I'm going to be keeping it really simple so that it actually becomes consistent for you and part of a routine. I'm also going to be sharing with you what works for me in terms of actually making sure that my mornings are productive. Most of us don't want to be waking up earlier just for the sake of waking up earlier. We usually have some type of intention that we want to achieve, and that's why we're trying to wake up earlier. So in order for you to achieve this intention, you need to make sure that your mornings are actually productive. So that means that you're getting done what you actually set out to get done for the day. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button down below, and let's get right into tip number one. Many people, when trying to actually start waking up earlier, they tend to focus so much on the logistical side of things. So what time should I be sleeping at? What time should I wake up at? What should I be doing before I sleep? And all of these things. When in fact, the first thing that you need to figure out is why is it that you're actually trying to wake up earlier? So this is going to be very different from your motivation. Motivation might help you for the first 2 to 3 days that you're trying to wake up earlier. It's giving you that kick in the butt and it's allowing you to get out of bed. But if you're really trying to make this a habit and something consistent that you can stick to long term, you're gonna need more than motivation. Why is it that you're actually trying to wake up earlier? It's important to ask yourself this question, and it doesn't need to be anything extravagant. It can be really something very simple. It might be that you're working a full-time job right now, work-life balance has been very difficult for you to manage, and maybe you want to spend more time with your family or your friends after work. And so you want to get in those 1 to 2 hours of extra time before you actually start your job. Or it can also be trying to work towards a goal that you've been setting off on the back burner for a while. So you want to try to wake up earlier so that you can start taking the necessary action steps that you need to take you closer towards that goal. As soon as you have a clear reason as to why and what you want to get from it, and once again, it doesn't have to be anything really big, it can be super simple, then you can move on from there and start thinking more on the logistical side of things. That why is going to help you start making the sacrifices that you need to, which could be things like sleeping earlier or not watching that Netflix movie before bed or whatever the case may be. The next thing that you want to do when trying to wake up earlier, keeping that up consistently, is to make sure that you're starting your mornings off with something that you enjoy. So I talk about this a lot on my channel because I really think it's super important in just reducing that resistance that you might feel. When you're really trying to do something out of your comfort zone, there's gonna be a little bit of resistance because there is some sacrifice required to get there. And so really to reduce this resistance, you wanna make sure that you have something to look forward to in the morning. So thinking of the things that you really enjoy doing are gonna make waking up so much easier than thinking about things that are not yet part of your routine, they're not yet a habit, and they might be difficult for you. So for example, if you're thinking, I not only need to wake up earlier, but I also have to jump out of bed, get to work right away, or jump out of bed, do a workout right away, and these are not parts of your routine yet, you wanna ease into that transition so that you're still excited about waking up earlier and you don't have a huge level of resistance towards it. So for example, in my case, I really look forward to waking up in the morning, making an iced coffee. Just that process excites me. I know it's super simple, but once again, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant. It just has to be something that's exciting enough for you to get out of bed. At the moment, I also really like listening to books on Audible before I get into work. I'm listening to U-Turn by Ashley Stahl. If you haven't checked it out, it's really awesome in terms of figuring out the right career path for you. I'll link it down below in the description box. If that's something that you're struggling with, then definitely check it out. The point here is really to try to think of what is it that you would enjoy that would make waking up not so difficult at the beginning. Now that these two main tips are out of the way, the next thing that you want to focus on is your all or nothing mindset. I see this so often with my clients. Let's say they're waking up at 8 a.m. They right away want to jump to waking up at 6 a.m. And this jump can be very discouraging, demotivating, and very hard to stick to long term. So what will help you instead when trying to work towards actually waking up earlier is to think in terms of increments. What's the first doable increment that you can work towards? What I see works best is working backwards 15 minutes at a time. So for example, if you're waking up at 8 a.m. right now and you want to start waking up earlier, try 7:45. Once 7:45 feels a little bit more comfortable and you've gotten the hang of it, then move back another 15 minutes. That way you feel encouraged, you're seeing progress, you are waking up earlier, you're seeing how much more you're able to get done throughout the day. The last tip that I have for you when it comes to waking up earlier is to play around with the number of hours that you actually need in order to wake up earlier and feel energized. So oftentimes we have this mindset that we need 8.5 hours, 9 hours to really feel rested and energized. But when put into practice, you might realize that if you have a little bit less number of hours, a little bit more, it actually makes you feel better in the mornings. So for example, I know that between 7 to 7.5 hours works really well for me, and I've only discovered that through trial and error. Take the time to play around with the number of hours that you need. This is going to allow you to know what time is it that roughly you should be sleeping by in order to wake up by the time that you want to wake up at and feel really rested and energized and ready for the day. Now, the last tip that I want to include here is how can you wake up in the morning and actually be productive in your morning routine? So most people are going to choose sleeping in over waking up earlier just for the sake of waking up earlier. So if you really want to make your mornings productive, what I recommend is focusing on how you can personalize your routine to you. So if you were to go on YouTube right now, you'd see a ton of morning routines that include 50 million steps that you would have to do in order for you to actually be productive. A concrete example of this is when I first started trying to wake up earlier again, I saw that a lot of people on YouTube were working out first thing in the morning. And so I thought to myself, well, that must be the best time to schedule my workouts because everyone's doing it. But when I actually tried it out in practice, I saw that it didn't actually work best for me because when I did do my workouts, the last thing I wanted to do was sit down and start working. I felt like I had a lot of energy to burn and I didn't want to sit down. Instead, I preferred to potentially do chores around the house and other things that didn't require sitting. What actually works best for me is waking up at a time that I want to, moving into the things that I enjoy doing that set me up for the day, and slowly transitioning into work. So I try to get in at least 2 hours of work before I work out. That way, I've gotten in a good chunk of work and I'm using my exercise as a way for me to regain energy once my energy dips. And then after that, I can slowly transition back into work again. I found through trial and error, that's what works best for me. Just allow yourself that grace and that time to explore so that you can find what works best for you. So once again, the point that I'm trying to highlight in this video is that keeping it simple can really go a long way in helping you just get the hang of it and stick to it long enough that it actually becomes a habit. Because ultimately, that's what you're trying to do. You want to be waking up earlier consistently enough so that you can work towards the things that you're trying to work towards. So these are my top simple tips for waking up earlier. I'd love to hear if you've tried any of these before and how they've worked out for you, or if you haven't, which ones you're thinking of trying. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a happy, healthy, and productive week.